Okay, so let's just dive right into this, because we're about to unpack a pretty unsettling idea. The suggestion here is that the world you think you're experiencing every day, it's been systematically replaced. And no, this isn't some kind of metaphor, it's a breakdown of how your reality is being swapped out, layer by painful layer.
A statement like this, it really hits you. But it isn't just for shock value. This is the core idea we're exploring. The argument is that what we all call reality isn't really grounded in our direct, personal experience anymore. Instead, we're living in a synthetic, constructed environment that's been carefully built right on top of the real world.
So how in the world did this happen? Well, according to this analysis, it wasn't one single event. It was a gradual buildup of 6 distinct layers. And what we're going to do right now is peel back every single one of them to see the machinery whirring away underneath.
All right, layer 1. This is the foundation for everything else. It's called mediated reality. And the fundamental shift here is huge. You don't really experience events directly anymore. What you experience is coverage, these pre-packaged, pre-framed interpretations of things that were designed long before they ever reached you.
And this is exactly how it works in practice. We are absolutely swimming in a world of symbols. A complex issue gets flattened into a simple, punchy headline. Your own unique identity, it gets swapped out for the brands you buy or the teams you root for. And that person on the other side of the argument, they're not a complex human being anymore. Nope, they're just a label.
Now check this out, because this is fascinating. The actual origin of the word brand. It literally means to burn a permanent mark into livestock. To make them easier to sort and control. The argument is that this system is doing the exact same thing to us, branding us with simple narratives so that we're easier to predict, easier to manage, and of course, easier to divide.
Okay, so you can see how this is building. Once that world of symbols is in place, it starts to actively shape how we act. These next 2 layers we're going to look at, they work together as a kind of conditioning engine, training us how to behave inside the simulation.
So this is layer 2, human conditioning. We learn pretty quickly what gets rewarded online, right? The likes, the shares, the visibility, and we do more of it. We also learn what gets ignored, and we stop doing that. So what happens? We start to flatten our own personalities. We become these simplified, sometimes more extreme versions of ourselves. The question in our head stops being, how do I really feel? And becomes, how will this look? How will this be received? And that constant performance, it just hollows you out. And that brings us to the really crucial point of layer 3. The replacement of information with content. See, information, its job is to create understanding, to lead to some kind of resolution. But content has a totally different goal. It's designed to provoke an emotional response, to hijack your attention, and, this is the most important part, to prevent the silence where actual thinking can happen. It makes you feel like you're engaged, but nothing ever gets solved, because if it did, you'd stop scrolling. So, what do you have now? A population that's been conditioned and is hooked on a constant stream of content. Now the next layers can be put in place. This is the control system, and it's built on 2 of the most powerful forces known to man: fear and narrative.
Layer 4 gets really primal. It weaponizes our most basic, ancient wiring. See, as tribal animals, our deepest fear has always been getting kicked out of the group, because that used to mean certain death. The system uses this exact fear, the fear of being ostracized, of being labeled one of them, to force us all to conform. Fear just works. It bypasses all our rational thought, and it drives clicks and shares like nothing else.
And this slide, this perfectly illustrates the consequence. A stable, solid identity is hard to manipulate, right? So identity itself has to be broken apart. And this is done by creating a constant state of moral emergency. Every week there's a new crisis, a new villain we're all supposed to hate. We don't have time to form our own values, so we just accept these pre-packaged moral frames. Morality stops being something you actually develop inside yourself and becomes something you just display. It's a costume you can put on.
And that leads us right into layer 5, narrative warfare. This is so important. Facts on their own are neutral. They're just data. But narratives provide heroes and villains and moral certainty. They give you permission to hate. It's argued that modern news isn't really here to report facts anymore. It's here to build these narratives, telling you exactly who to blame and how to feel before you even have a chance to think for yourself.
All right, this takes us to the final and probably the most obvious layer of the whole simulation. This is where the entire political system stops being about governing and just becomes a performance, a big, grand piece of theater. And that's the crucial point right there. I mean, think about it. If politics were really about getting results, it wouldn't need an audience. But everything we see is designed for an audience. It has roles, it has costumes, it has good guys and bad guys, all meant to create a spectacle and keep you watching.
And here are all the key elements of that show. You've got the dramatic hearings that accomplish nothing, the emotional speeches that change nothing, the endless, breathless scandals that just disappear a week later. The purpose isn't to govern. The purpose is to be a giant distraction machine, to keep you emotionally occupied so you're not paying attention to what's really going on.
And at the end of the day, this whole stage show produces the ultimate shift in our thinking. The question is no longer, is this policy right or wrong, based on some kind of moral framework? Nope. The only question left is this person on our side? That's it. Team loyalty just completely takes over.
So let's tie all 6 of these layers together now. What's the glue holding this entire simulation in place? Well, it's the oldest and most powerful control system we have, story itself. Almost every single major narrative that you get fed follows this exact, simple, mythic template. It's incredibly effective because it totally bypasses logic. As soon as these roles are assigned, you don't need to reason anymore. You have a hero to cheer for, that's your side, of course. You have a villain to hate, that's the other side. And you have a victim that justifies the whole thing.
In a simulation where the only thing that matters is being seen, morality itself becomes symbolic. It's not about actually being a good person, it's about looking like a good person. Virtue is something you deploy like a hashtag or a profile picture frame or a slogan on a t-shirt. It's just another performance, because performance is the only thing that gets noticed.
So, after going through all of this, you might be wondering, what's the point? Why is understanding this grim machinery actually useful? It's not about fighting back, not really. It's about something much more fundamental.
Look, seeing the simulation for what it is gives you orientation. You stop reacting on cue. You stop mistaking the symbols for the actual substance. You see the political theater, and you recognize it's just a show. And once you can see the strings, the puppet master, they lose their power over you. The manipulation, it just stops working.
And that really brings us to the final, haunting question this whole analysis leaves us with. When you can finally see all the layers of the simulation, when you're no longer fooled by the performance, you can finally start to ask, what was underneath it all along? What is actually real?